on doing the impossible. I have observed that among all the enterprises a prince may undertake, none test his virtue more severely than the attempt to do what men commonly call impossible. For most rulers content themselves with what fortune places within easy reach. They move only where the road is already cleared and the people are accustomed to obedience. Yet the prince who would rise above the common sort must sometimes set his hand to tasks that appear beyond human strength. He must conquer mountains, bend unwilling peoples, or seize a state that has never known his rule. In such matters, I say that success belongs not to the cautious or the fortunate, but to him who possesses true virtue and knows how to make fortune his servant rather than his mistress. A prince who wishes to do the impossible must first recognize that all great innovations meet resistance. Those who profited under the old order will oppose him with every means. Those who hope for gain will offer only lukewarm support. Men are by nature suspicious of what they have not seen, and they cling to customs even when those customs bring them harm. Therefore, the innovator must act with the speed of fire and the force of the lion. He must commit all necessary cruelties at once, so that they are soon forgotten, and follow them with benefits that men can taste and remember. To spread injuries over time is to breed hatred that never dies. To strike once and decisively is to make men fear and then grow accustomed. I have written elsewhere that new principalities acquired by one's own arms and ability are the most difficult yet the most glorious to hold. Doing the impossible is precisely this kind of acquisition. The prince cannot rely upon fortune alone, for fortune is a woman who favors the young and the bold, but turns her face from those who hesitate. He who waits for perfect conditions will never begin. Instead, he must study the times, seize the moment when fortune offers the slightest opening, and then drive forward with all his strength. Boldness often conquers where caution fails, for fortune yields to those who press her hard rather than those who stand aside in hope. Yet boldness without prudence is mere recklessness. The wise prince must therefore be both lion and fox, the lion to frighten the wolves, the fox to escape the traps. He must appear merciful while being ready to act cruelly when necessity demands. He must seem faithful while knowing when to break faith. In doing the impossible, he will be forced to all laws, to disarm powerful factions, to plant colonies, and to reside in the new territory himself, so that he may see and correct disorders before they grow. He who governs from afar through lieutenants or distant strikes will soon discover that his orders are ignored and his enemies multiply. Consider also the measure of strength. A principality is strong when the prince can stand alone in time of need, possessing his own troops, fortified places, and the goodwill of the people. To do the impossible, the prince must build these foundations while the task still seems hopeless. He must train his men in peace as though war were already upon him. He must fortify the key passes and cities before the enemy can occupy them. He must win the common people by relieving their burdens once the first shock is over. Reliance upon mercenaries or auxiliaries in such an enterprise is fatal, for they will desert when danger grows or turn against their employer when fortune shifts. The art of war remains the sole proper study of the prince who would achieve the impossible. In peace he must exercise his mind and body, study terrain, read the deeds of great captains, and organize his forces so that they are ready at any moment. War is the only profession that preserves both state and honor. Neglect of it causes loss of both. He who knows nothing of arms cannot command respect from soldiers or fear from enemies. Therefore, even when no enemy is visible, the prince must live as a warrior, for fortune favors the prepared. Above all, the prince must adapt his conduct to the times. Fortune governs half our actions, yet leaves the other half to our own control. She resembles a raging river that floods when unchecked, but can be tamed by embankments built in calm weather. When times are favorable, the prince may proceed with clemency and liberality. When necessity presses, he must be severe and economical. He who clings to one manner of acting will perish when circumstances change. The prince who would do the impossible must therefore study the times constantly and strike when opportunity appears. For fortune yields to those who seize her rather than wait passively for her gifts. I do not deny that doing the impossible is fraught with peril. Many princes have attempted great things and been ruined by them. Some have lost their states through idleness after the first blow. Others have been hated and despised because they inflicted injuries piecemeal or failed to secure the people. Yet those who have succeeded, those who acquired new principalities by their own virtue, have laid foundations that endured. They became the founders of new orders, and men still speak of their glory. Thus the attempt itself, when carried through with prudence and force, elevates a prince above the common rank and writes his name in history. Let no prince deceive himself with soft words. Doing the impossible is not a matter of justice or mercy by nature. It is a contest of power in which the end justifies the means. Success excuses any breach of faith or act of severity, provided it is done well and for the safety of the state. The prince must therefore appear to possess every virtue while being ready to abandon any when necessity demands. Reputation matters, but survival and mastery matter more. In the end, he who masters the art of doing the impossible will find that fortune becomes his ally rather than his enemy. By bold and prudent action, he bends events to his will, turns hostile lands into sources of strength, and leaves behind a state more secure than he found it. This is the highest mark of a ruler. This is how The Prince, by Niccolò Machiavelli, directly applies to the subject of doing the impossible. Every principle I have set forth in that work, acquiring new estates by one's own arms, using cruelty well, adapting to fortune, mastering the art of war, appearing virtuous while acting as necessity requires, and choosing boldness over caution, converges upon this single truth. The impossible is achieved only by the prince who possesses virtù, and refuses to let fortune dictate his fate. He who studies the prince and applies its lessons will discover that what men call impossible is merely difficult, and what is difficult can be conquered by one who knows the true nature of power.